Today in the workshop, I'll be introducing the DB1 robot, a full-sized robot project that you can follow along and build as well. I'll show you the basic sections of the DB1 and how the chassis is going to look. So let's get started. Welcome to the workshop. Hello and welcome to the workshop and to the first episode on my series on building a real robot. Now, what do I mean by a real robot? Is this as opposed to a fake robot? Well, certainly not. We've done a number of things with robotics on the DroneBot workshop, and we tend to use these little robotic chassis like this. And these chassis are great. They're inexpensive, they're easy to obtain, they're very simple to put together, and we can do a lot of experimenting and learn a lot about robotic fundamentals with these. But these are not real robots. They're toy-sized devices that are great for experimenters, but they really can't perform any practical functions. A real robot, on the other hand, should be able to do practical things. It should be able to carry enough payload to do something useful. It should be intelligent in a sense. It should be able to become aware of its environment. It should be able to learn. And that is the type of a robot I want to build. So what I've got over here is a chassis, or at least the beginning of a chassis, for something that I am calling DB1. I'm calling my robot DB1 simply because DB is DroneBot and this is the first one. Now, eventually, perhaps we can have a contest after this robot evolves a bit and come up with a better name for it. The only thing I'm concerned about is someone is bound to suggest Robot McRobot Face, and I don't want to name it that because all the other robots will laugh at it. But aside from silly names, this robot is something that you can follow along and build too. Now, if you want to build the exact same robot that I'm building, you can do it. I'm going to make certain that I use components that are commonly available. You'll be able to get them either locally or online from several sources. But you don't have to build the same robot that I'm building in order to benefit from this series. The modules I will be constructing for this robot are going to be as universal as I can make them. So if you have an idea for building another robot on another chassis, you can take advantage of these modules and use them yourself. So what I want to do today is go over the outline of what this robot project will entail. I'll show you what this chassis has so far on it and the things I'm about to add on to it. And then I will explain what we are going to be covering in our subsequent videos. Now, before I go over the outline for the components on the robot, I want to talk a little bit about the design philosophy that I'm using when I create this robot. I'm using something called a black box design. Now, a black box design is a common thing in engineering, and it is used in all sorts of engineering projects, as well as in common everyday things that you use yourself. For example, when NASA or the ESA commissions a spacecraft to be built, they get the specifications for it and they draw it up as a series of boxes, and each of these boxes have predefined inputs, predefined outputs, and predefined functions. But they don't actually define what is inside the box. They go out to a number of subcontractors, and the subcontractor that wins a contract to build that box knows what the box is supposed to do, knows what it's supposed to interface with, but they have their own ability to go and build whatever they want to create that box. NASA or the ESA doesn't dictate exactly what components they use, only that the box performs those functions. You use that sort of thing yourself. For example, if you've got a home theater system, you don't have to buy all of your components from the same manufacturer. You could buy an LG television, hook it up to an Onkyo receiver, have a couple of Bose speakers, and hook up a Sony Blu-ray player, and they will all work. The components don't have to know anything about each other than the fact that they have common interfaces like HDMI and optical cables and RCA cables. We are going to use the same philosophy. So this way, all of the different sections of the robot are essentially independent, and you don't have to build them all. You might, for example, just want to build the base unit, and the base unit is going to be capable of functioning all by itself. It'll use standard interfaces like Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, so you could control the base unit another way and not even build the other sections. So now that I've talked about this philosophy, let's go and take a look at the components of the DB1 robot. The DB1 robot project can be broken down into 3 different layers: the navigation layer, the intelligence layer, and the environmental inputs and outputs. The navigation layer performs movement and navigation of the robot. It accepts high-level and low-level commands. An example of a high-level command would be move forward 3 meters or execute a predefined sequence. A low-level command would mean something like move the wheel 3 rotations. It performs collision avoidance and emergency stop. The navigation layer consists of motors, motor controllers, and drivers. It also consists of the navigation sensors. The navigation layer also contains the main power supply for the robot. The intelligence layer controls the navigation layer. It also interfaces with the environmental input and output layer. The intelligence layer also performs the master communications with the outside world, either via Wi-Fi and Bluetooth or using interfaces such as voice and vision. It consists of 1 or more single-board computers. It will also contain a solid-state drive. The environment input and output layer senses the local environment. It also outputs both sound and light. These are high-level sensors which pre-process the data, making it easier for the intelligence layer to work with it. There is a turntable on the robot that contains a number of sensors. These are controlled by the environment I/O layer. This layer also consists of 1 or more single-board computers. Sensors on this layer include LiDAR, video cameras, speakers, and microphones. The layers are interconnected as follows. The power from the navigation layer is distributed to both the intelligence and environment input-output layers. The intelligence layer communicates with the other 2 layers using standard Ethernet. And this is the basic design of the DB1 robot project. Now, one thing that you're not seeing on the robot chassis at the moment are a series of shelves that I'm putting on it, and that's going to be for the electronics that are going to be mounted on the robot. And I'm going to be building my shelves out of this acrylic over here. This is a very nice piece of 1/4 inch thick black translucent acrylic, so it should look pretty nice. I'm going to cut this into a series of shelves, and I'm going to be putting 2 shelves on the robot over here, just so I can place the electronics. Plus at the back over here, I'm going to place another shelf for electronics, and that will be for the electronics for the navigation unit, for the base unit. And onto this plexiglass, I'm going to mount a number of spacers. I've got some long screws to get through the plexiglass and do that. And I'll put some spacers and standoffs over there so I can mount the electronics on it. And I'm going to keep that philosophy up for the entire robot, so it all will look a little nicer with this black plexiglass on it as well. I'm also going to get some more plexiglass and get a circular piece that I can mount over here. This stepper motor over here will be driving a turntable where I can place some sensors, and that way I can move the sensors around. And I'll probably also be putting some plexiglass on the top over here as well, so I can mount some more sensors, some components, and the LiDAR units. So just wanted to let you know that you're not looking at the complete chassis, and the next time that you see the whole chassis together, it should have these shelves, assuming that I can cut plexiglass correctly. I bought these special blades for my saw to cut it. I know that you can score plexiglass and snap it, but when it's a 1/4 inch thick, I don't think that's going to work very well. So wish me luck with that one, and you will be seeing some shelves on this robot chassis very soon. So let me show you what I've got on this chassis so far. Now, as you can see, I've built this out of channeling. This is called Actobotics channeling, and I'll be explaining that in further detail in the next video. You can sort of see the height of this thing here altogether from the ground to the top. It's about 20 inches. And it's approximately 18 inches long and about 16 inches wide. I've got 2 motors on this robot, 2 gear motors over here, and they're driving 2 wheels. They actually aren't directly coupled to the wheels. There's a shaft coupler and some bearings to take the weight off of these things. On the back of it over here, you can see that I've put a plate on the bottom. I'm going to have the batteries down over here. That way this plate can hold them. It's nice and strong. Plus all the weight will be centered and at the bottom where I want it. As you can see, of course, I've got a large tower over here that I said I'm going to be putting some shelves onto. The stepper motor, as I said, will drive a turntable, and that turntable will hold a number of different sensors that I'll be able to rotate 360 degrees. Now, of course, these sensors will need their own power, and I will need something like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to communicate their inputs and outputs back to the rest of the robot, because I won't be able to run any wires to that. Otherwise, it's a fairly simple design, I think, a square box. The wheels on the bottom over here, I've got 2 on the front. On the back, I've got something called Omni wheels, and I'll be explaining what Omni wheels are when we go and discuss wheels. I decided to use those instead of casters, and again, I'll go over why I made that choice. But basically, the components will sit a lot like the block diagram. Most of the navigation stuff will be on the bottom over here, although there will be navigation sensors all over the robot. And then we'll have the platforms here where we keep most of the electronics or the intelligence section. And then for the environmental sensors, I'll have them, a lot of them stationary up on the top. I'm going to place my LiDAR unit a little bit raised on the top over here, so it'll be the tallest point of the robot. And then of course we can decorate this up with things like a few LEDs and that, and naturally I'll want to put speakers, microphones, cameras, etc. And they can be mounted all over the chassis. So that's basically my robot chassis and how it's going to evolve. Now, before we wrap up this video, I want to say something about how this video series is going to progress. On the regular DroneBot workshop videos, I tend to follow the same pattern. I introduce the subject, I give you all the theory about it, we take a look at the pinouts on the devices that we're using, and then we do a number of experiments. And these videos usually take 30 or 40 minutes or even more. On these videos for the robot, I'm not going to go into that level of detail. However, I'm going to correlate the 2 sets of videos. So for example, this LiDAR sensor, we've covered this already in a DroneBot workshop video. So when it comes time to put the LiDAR onto the robot, I will be referring you back to that video. There will of course be a number of other sensors and components that we haven't covered in the DroneBot workshop, such as, for example, this little camera. This is an open MV camera. It's an intelligent camera. In some respects, it's similar to the Pixie Cam that we covered earlier. But guess what? By the time that we put this on the robot, I will have done a DroneBot workshop video on it. So I'm going to make certain that I correlate the 2. Now, if you need more detailed plans about building the robot, I have ideas for that as well. And the best way to find out about that is to stay subscribed to my newsletter. You'll find a link below this video to subscribe to that newsletter. It's not a sales letter. It's a way of keeping in touch with you, and also a way of keeping you informed about projects like like this robot. Now, another thing, of course, is in order to get these videos, the best way to find out about them is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So if you haven't done that already, please do. The next time we get together, we're going to talk about the robot chassis itself. I'm going to show you the chassis in detail and how it was assembled, how I used this acrobatics channeling to put it together, and also I'll discuss other materials that you could use to build your own robot chassis. You don't have to build one exactly like this. Subsequent videos will cover how to select the motors, how to select the wheels, and then we'll go on and we will build the base unit. So there is a lot to cover, so I'm hoping that you will stay with me for this series. So again, we will be having regular DroneBot workshop videos every Saturday and these robot videos every Thursday. And I look forward to seeing you here in the workshop for both of those. So until next time, please take care of yourself, and I will be seeing you very soon here in the DroneBot workshop. Goodbye for now.